Hi everybody, I'm Gina and I'm an alcoholic. I've been through the process with the help of a big book step study sponsor, a loving God, meetings like these and people like you. I have made most of my amends and I practice 10, 11, and 12 to the best of my ability on a daily basis. It's great to be here today. Am I too loud? Okay, great. All right. I have to say I have not spoken in a very long time, and I got away from meetings for a while there as I piled responsibilities onto my life. No excuse, but that's what I did. They always say not to do that, and they're right. So I haven't done this in a while. I just want to admit that. I also want to say that the last 2 years I have probably experienced more loss and failure than I ever have in a row. 2019 especially, and therefore I am so grateful that I am here talking about step 2, because step 2 and 3 saved my life. That is how I cope today, and and thank God for these steps, and thank God for this program. I also should just mention that I did sort of talk to my sponsor about whether I should be speaking or not, given all this stuff, and she said, "Oh, you're fine." So if I sound screwy or anything, I'm going to let you know who she is, and you can talk to her about that later. But anyways, I often think about when I'm speaking how I was when I came into this program and how I am today. I told you I've been through a lot of stuff in the last 2 years, and in the past I would have looked at that as, why is this happening to me? There is no God. I hate the world. Which I'm told is the victim stance. And a lot of these things I had no part in. It's just life. Shit happens. Life happens, and we have to deal with life on life's terms. Some of the stuff I did have a small part in, and in the past I would have looked at that as I should have done something better. I should have been better. I would have beaten myself up hugely and taken on all the responsibility for everyone else and myself, because I think because that gives me some kind of sense of control, because I'm afraid of not having control. And if I can blame myself for everything that's happened in my life, then just fixing myself is going to make everything better. And somehow that gives me some sense of control. Today, I look at these things, and I'm stealing this line from somebody else, but I really look at these things as not why is this happening to me, but why is this happening for me? This is happening for me for a reason that I have to believe is because there's something better, or there's a lesson to be learned. And that is step 2. I just want to tell you a little bit about my story and how I got here, but I was in a place of despair. They talk about being badly mangled, desperation. And I thought I was on the verge of losing my career. I was alone, I was lonely, I hated myself, and I'm sure, a lot of that other stuff. So I decided to go to therapy, and I had recognized that some substance had taken control of my life and I couldn't stop it. And so I told the therapist, I need you to fix me so that I can stop doing drugs. And she said, you kind of need to stop doing the drug first, and then we work on fixing you. Okay, so I didn't want to hear that. I think I tried to stop doing the drug to the best of my ability. It was a long time ago, I can't remember, but 6 months into therapy, then she says, maybe you want to try to just not drink for a while, too. And I definitely did not want to hear that. I was like, I do not have a drinking problem. I am not an alcoholic. This is how I was raised. This is what you do to have fun. This is what you do to deal with your problems. Like, I have all these other friends who don't drink and they deal with their problems with crying and all of that stuff. I don't have time for that. It's not efficient, and it's very girly. And so this is how I was raised. I mean, this is just what you do. And I couldn't understand for 1 minute why anyone would stop drinking. And my biggest fear was that I was not only going to lose my identity, but I was going to be boring. Like, that, to me, being boring is the biggest sin in the world. You can be a liar, cheater, homicidal maniac, and that's cool, and that's fine. But being boring would be terrible. And I thought for sure if I put down alcohol, No one was going to like me. No one was going to want to hang out with me. I realize today, of course, nobody in this program is boring. And being boring is fine sometimes. Like, who cares? Finally, I hit a couple of jackpots, and I had to accept the fact that alcohol was a problem in my life, that I was an alcoholic, and I went to AdCare, Intensive Outpatient Program, and finally found my way to AA. I did the other 12 steps for the first 6 years before I found Big Book Step Study, because I hit an emotional bottom, and I knew I needed something different, and so I came here, and thank God for that. One of the things that kind of kept me out of AA for a long time was this step, because I didn't understand this step. I was those lay people that don't come to AA, those normal people, they don't understand this step. And I was an atheist. I believed in the scientific method. I was trained in the scientific method. A lot of stuff that they talk about in this book, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. Everything is about self-will, in my opinion. And I was very scared of having to accept God in my life, and how was I going to do that? And thankfully, the program talks about, it doesn't have to be the God, it's consider another's conception of God. Our own conception, however inadequate, was sufficient to make the approach and to effect a contact with him. It doesn't have to be God, it can be, as long as it's a power greater than ourselves. 4 months into the program, I think, this happened very fast for me, much faster than I thought it would. I was still an atheist, and I was asking my sponsor all kinds of questions, and she's like, I just don't have an answer for you. At some point, she was like, I don't have an answer for you. Because I had to understand this on some kind of logical, rational level. 4 months into the program, I had a spiritual awakening. Not everybody has a spiritual awakening. You don't have to have a spiritual awakening to do step 2, but I did, and I want to tell that because it was a big part of my story. But I had been seeing a person, if you call it seeing a person, it wasn't a relationship. In my mind, it was a relationship. In his mind, I was the person he calls once in a while, if you know what I'm saying. So this person I knew was not good for me, and I was hanging on to this in early recovery. I knew this person was not good for me, but I had this obsession. I was just in love. I could not get this out of my head. Today I look at this and say, God did that for me, because that, whatever it was, is one of the things that helped me get badly mangled much faster, and it's what got me here. So God did that for me. So this relationship in my mind was not logical. It would not be logical to any other human being. I was an atheist. He was a Jehovah's Witness. I was in early recovery. He was a drug dealer. I had just finished graduate school, the highest degree that you could possibly get. He couldn't read. So I thought, which I did not judge at all. I was like, oh my God, we complement each other so well. I can help him. Completely unreasonable. Completely unreasonable. I'm sure he was like, what is this girl doing? Anyways, I was obsessed. And they say, no major changes in the first year. That includes, getting relationships. In my mind, that includes not getting into new relationships. And there's a good reason for that. It's because our brains are not, everything is heightened in that first year. Your emotion is heightened in that first year. Love, obsession, all of that stuff is another drug, and especially in that first year. And I was just substituting it. And so, many of us do get in relationships in the first year. It happens, but, there's a consequence to it. Anyways, I needed to not answer these guys' phone calls anymore. So my sponsor took me to get a massage, and in separate rooms. And we went and got a massage. I got a massage, and they talk about massage as a form of meditation. And I had this. It may sound crazy, but I had this vision while I was getting this massage of just being in despair and sitting on the floor and crying. And at this time, I really believed in the Mother Mary. The Mother Mary was like this good image for me. And I saw her come and put her arms around me. I still get emotional when I think about it, because it was so real to me. and hold me up and let me know that everything was going to be okay. I can't believe I'm getting emotional about this story now. It was so long ago. And from that moment on, he never called again. I never dealt with it again. I never had to deal with it again. And I started to believe. That for me was a spiritual awakening. Today, I have had, now that I'm open, the book talks about being open and willing. It's all about changing your perception, the way that you see things that happen in the world. Being open and willing, and I see all of these spiritual experiences, God moments, the universe taking care of me. And that stuff was probably there before, I just couldn't see it. And so that's one of the things the program does. That's one of the ways the program has worked in my life, is changing the way that I view the world. So since then, I have become a believer. The book talks about, the skepticism and the people, and I was one of those skeptical people. Like I said, I was always challenging people who believed in God. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. There's 3 promises in this step that are very meaningful to me. So the first one is, as soon as we admitted the possible existence of a creative intelligence, a spirit of the universe underlying the totality of things, we began to be possessed by a new sense of power and direction, provided we took other simple steps. As soon as I became open, I started to get a new sense of power and direction. As soon as I became open to see it and willing. The second promise is, there has been a revolutionary change in their way of living and thinking. In the face of collapse and despair, in the face of the total failure of their human resources, they found that a new power, peace, happiness, and sense of direction flowed into them. I, like I said, was trained in the scientific method. That's the way I think. But I not only had this spiritual awakening and all these wonderful things happen for me, I also looked around the rooms and saw people being happy. And I wanted to be happy. I came into this program because I do not have any tolerance for not being okay and not being happy. I have very low tolerance for that. That's why I drank and drugged. I needed to be okay or happy all the time. I do not have time to be sad. Like, that is not a productive emotion. And so nowadays, I allow myself to be sad. I cry. I do whatever it takes because I realize that helps you get through it. Whatever it takes. But that's how I felt then. So when I came to this program, I was desperate. I knew I needed to change myself. As the book says, it becomes not a drinking problem anymore. It is a thinking problem. I have a thinking problem, and if I didn't take care of it with this program, with this medicine, step 2 and step 3, and all the other steps, obviously, if I didn't take care of it that way, it would just become something else. It wouldn't be drugs and alcohol anymore, maybe, but it would be something else. I've had lots of other things happen too, that I've been through too, and overcome, thank God. Literally, thank God. Because this is about, to me, those problems, that thinking problem is about soul sickness. I had soul sickness most of my life before I came here. So I saw that everybody was happy, and I gave up the need to understand logically with a rational brain. I gave up the need to be able to explain and see everything, and I decided that believing in a power greater than myself is going to help make me happy. And that's all I care about. And trust and rely on a power greater than yourself. Because you guys are happy. It was awesome to see. So I have friends who aren't here. I know them through work or something, who are also atheists. They don't believe. And I have one friend in particular who's like, well, she knows I'm an AA, and she's like, well, how do you handle the God stuff? I'm like, I'm like, the first thing I said is, it's not about God. It's about just believing in something greater than yourself. That could be the universe. It could be whatever. But she's challenged us a couple of times with me. And today, I don't have to argue about it. I don't have to be right about it. I don't have to fight about it. It's not like she's fighting with me, but I just decided that I want to be happy. I just decided that I want to be happy. And people who believe are happy. Not all the time, but more than the people who are like totally bent on realism. We know constant realism is actually associated with depression. So, and she was like, oh, okay. So I don't have to argue about it anymore. I don't care. People can believe whatever they want to believe. It really doesn't matter to me. I understand atheism, however you say that. I understand being agnostic. I understand being in any sort of religion. It's whatever. This is just about believing in a power greater than yourself. The last promise I'll leave with, and then I'll end, is, then is promise number 3. Now I'm trying to find it. Which is, it says, with this attitude, you cannot fail. The consciousness of your belief is sure to come to you. The way I interpret this, with this attitude, you cannot fail, is that when I trust and rely on my higher power, I know that no matter what, I am going to be okay. I have no idea why I'm getting emotional. See, I get emotional now, and that's okay. Before, I used to think that was a huge weakness. It was not okay for anybody to get emotional. I didn't even know how to handle people when they were emotional. What are you supposed to do? Hug them? I don't know. But my belief, if I believe in a power greater than myself, I can look at things as happening for me. So what's coming next? What's the next opportunity? This is the new normal. Whatever that is, it's probably going to be better than what I had ever planned for myself. And I honestly believe that, because that is how my life has worked. And no matter what, I am going to be okay. And I am so grateful for this program. I'm grateful for my sponsor. I'm grateful for everyone who does 12-step work. And I also, just for anyone who's speaking, I always try to remember, my sponsors have told me that when you get up here and speak, it's not about you. It's not about me. I need to get out of my own ego. That's ego. If even one person got any message from this today, that makes it worth it. So thank you.